Metal prices have fallen and oil has collapsed this month, but can commodities make a rebound? Joining me today is Frank Holmes, CEO of U.S. Global Investors. Frank, good to see you.
Great to be back, Daniela.
So gold has once again broken down below at $12.20 an ounce here. What's your take? Can it go lower, or is this just more of a buying opportunity for you here?
Well, everyone's waiting in the short term for something positive out of China, and will China back down and find a new process to renegotiate the tariff war? It's really in China's court to show that they want to be more understanding, and it's an unlevel playing field. Clearly, when you look at tariffs around the world between the U.S. and any other country in the world. So I think if China does come up with a process to renegotiate, to look to lower tariffs, the dollar will come off, the commodities will surge because of this China phenomena. But if that doesn't happen, then the commodities are going to continue to have difficulty. Emerging markets are going to continue to have difficulty. And the dollar, which is really amazing me that it's just actually not much higher than where it was normally would be. I've mentioned this in your program before. When you look at the differential of the Japanese yen to the euro and the US dollar, what they're offering you on 2-year government bond rates of interest, that differential is so great that dollars should be substantially higher and gold should be like 700, and that's not happened. So I think that any drop in interest rates or a peak in the next 3 months in the U.S. With rising interest rates, that all of a sudden gold goes to 1,500. That's the way I look at these markets, but short term, it's all predicated on China.
Well, what about oil's collapse here, Frank, then? Does this signal slower global growth, or do you think there's something else perhaps at play here?
Absolutely. If you look at global PMI, and I write about it every month when the numbers come out for people to appreciate the trend analysis, when the 1 month is above the 3 months or it's below. Now, why is that important? Because Purchasing Manufacturers Index, PMI, is a forward-looking index, and it resets every month, and is a great forecaster for commodity demand in the next 6 months. And so what we've seen since last April, the global PMI started to fall 1 month below the 3 months. And when that happens for 3 months in a row, the odds favor greatly for oil, copper to continue to fall significantly, like an 80% probability, and that's what's happening. The rise of oil in the summer was more geopolitics with Iran, had nothing to do with global growth. Emerging markets are still finding it very difficult. So I just think that PMI is still negative. We have to get some resolution on trade wars, and then the PMIs most likely would turn positive.
Okay, let's shift gears here and look at the crypto space with you, Frank. The cryptos are recovering slightly here this Wednesday, but are you surprised that with the collapse, for example, of Bitcoin, we haven't seen the sentiment that perhaps it took once away from gold rush back to gold?
Well, it's very different in respect that it's sentiment driven. Gold is money, and gold is the fourth most liquid asset class in the world. So often it's used in counterparty transactions with central banks. So it's actually very different when you look at digital money versus gold money. And when I go and look at the digital world, it reminds me more of like Hong Kong. Hong Kong stock market is predominantly a cash economy. It's not highly leveraged. So it has these great falls and spectacular rises. And that's what you can get in the Bitcoin world. It's not really like the 2008 crash where people went bankrupt because they had 99% debt to their houses or banks went under, etc. This is a sentiment-driven global G20 finance ministers against the crypto world, trying to slow it down while they come up with policies to regulate, and that negative sentiment has been a real big issue in driving down the pricing of these commodities. On the positive note, Fidelity continues to build out the infrastructure. There's lots of positive things that are taking place, and so I think that in the next this negative sentiment can last until the spring. But it looks like we finally got a short-term bounce. We're seeing that the hash rate, they call the difficulty of mining these coins, is also collapsing. to me, that's a positive part as chairman of Hive, is not just the price is falling for us, it's what we call the network hash rate. It is falling also, and that allows us to have a profit margin.
Frank, I appreciate you talking this trifecta with me today, gold, oil, and the crypto space. Thank you so much for joining us. And thanks to you for watching. We'll have much more for you coming up.